Hey, thank you for joining. This is a quick walkthrough through a learning journey I had when deciding I wanted to do a build ship share on the LangChain MCP adapter library. So, and it was kind of an interesting challenge. It's great. Adapter library is great, but all the code examples that I thought were fantastic, and I wanted to create a notebook and sort of some libraries on. It was all in the README. So as part of doing that, there was a couple of iterations until I got to the point of one to kind of being in a spot where I could present about it. And what I ended up doing is, instead of continuing to refactor, I just said, well, hey, I got a story to tell. So what did I do? I created a storytelling folder. And, based on that, I created the story, the README, the architecture overview, and even created a LinkedIn post. So we all need to get in the habit of build ship sharing, right? So I'll start with the README. It's helpful. It's going to has a link to the MCP adapters library from LangChain. Absolutely want to give them credit for the great library and the building blocks that got me to the point of understanding it well enough that I could venture off on my own and be dangerous and create my own custom Python code. So anyway, this is a very effective, concise walkthrough of some of the components. The scenario I took for this was that, sort of my context and experience has been that, you use these, what are MCP.json files, right? It's a standard way of defining sort of in the client side, how to connect to these MCP servers. And I was gone through enough examples that I thought, wait a minute, I just want to either import or just cut and paste it. So that was kind of my moment of going like, hey, throwing the gauntlet to myself and say, hey, I want to see if I can do this. And so that's what I did. And so there's other sort of details in here about, you can take a look at a Langsmith trace of the code, and then ultimately here's the code. And if you want to run it, there's details here on how to run it as well. So what I'll do is I'll hop in here and look at the code. So the code is sweet and to the point. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. That too bad. Okay, not that much. Again, okay, I give up. So, okay, back to the presentation. So what I'm using and sort of what allows me to kind of use this LangChain MCP adapter, sort of similar to what it would be in an MCP.json file, is this multi-server MCP client. It's kind of cool in its ability to allow you to mix sort of standard IO and like HTTP type streaming sort of requests. So it's very powerful. There's others that there's a standard IO specific client, but in some respects, I think that even if it's not what you end up using all the time, to start with this, it kind of gets you in the place of sort of understanding that bigger context, and then you go down to that slimmer and sort of format specific, like a standard IO approach of building the client where it's appropriate. The other couple other things. One is that what I wanted to do is I wanted to assess how difficult it was to use the LangChain 1.0 sort of client. So one of the interesting things with the standard sort of LangGraph reasoning action sort of simple example, which was a create React agent, and the LangGraph side, since that was so commonly used, I thought, well, hey, it's a good time in terms of the LangChain library to test the how difficult it was to do similar things with the create agent versus the create React agent. So again, more information in the README if you want to go through it, but this was kind of one of my proving grounds that I was interested in looking at. And then here, this display utils, this is something that I created that's in this library as well. And it's context engineering for Dawn, for humans. And so I just created it because the content in the messages is just so much. You want to see each of the message calls in the stack, but you don't want everything. And so it was just my way of sort of trying to filter it down I threw in a freebie towards the end, which was the ability to see tokens, token count. So in terms of one of the local methods that were created here, the show MCP tools metadata. So this is specific to, in essence, that there's a get tools method on the LangChain MCP adapter, and this is sort of formatting the information that it's getting. It's not current standard IO. It's not getting all of the information that I would have expected and liked, but it's a start. And I think that once I start testing some of the HTTP MCPs, I think it'll do the thing, but just need to be patient. Okay, so the hard-coded MCP config. So this is taking an mcp.json file that I had, and in essence, more or less just dropping it in here. There's some slight massaging, but in essence, it was kind of the thought of you have this mcp.json file that you're familiar with. It's worked well locally, whether Cloud Code, Cloud Desktop, Cursor, and wanted to see how easy it was to port. And so that was kind of my thinking of taking this approach, creating this simple method to see what happened. Okay, and so all that being said, so we're getting down to the actual code. This is how simple it was to, the concept of, using the MCP adapter library from LangChain, testing out the reasoning action sort of agent from LangChain, and then also sort of being able to, see the output in a meaningful way. And of course, the other thing here is that I'm just sort of highlighting this. This is where that hard-coded MCP config above. This is where it gets dumped into the MCP client. So it was really that easy in terms of scaffolding the pieces. Okay, and then this was the question that I asked. It had to do with getting more information about migrating from the create React agent method to the create agent method. So yeah, it was obviously something that was on my mind. And told it to use context 7 to ground your response, which was why it was on my mind in terms of what I wanted hard code here. It's like the MCP server time, sequential thinking, and then context 7. So those are the pieces, and that is the way. So what I will do, one of the things you'll see as well, a couple of, if you want to look at the trace in Langsmith, you can cut and paste from here. The other thing in terms of the code, that the sample based on the client, or the utility that I created to format the output is within the repo, but this was the output from that run. That makes sense. And then I am trying to find I think I may have, made too big, so it was hiding it. So this is under docs here. Yeah, so this is the integration test MCP JSON.md. So named it similarly to the Python file. This is the output, and so this was the output from that function, that method that's built into the Python script to get. This was the information from pulled back from the get tools from the LangChain MCP adapter library, and then the information down below is sort of my method, the library that I created to sort of parse the message content. And so on the right-hand side, you can see that there was like a human message. Here's the initial question. Then you can see, the message stack that we went through: AI message, tool message, AI message again, tool message, and then all the way down here and down the AI message, and what follows immediately after there. This is the report that it generated. The LLM generated based on the tool calls. So and then the last thing here, that this is the trace information that was captured in LangGraph. So much easier here to kind of go through and look at the details. You can see here what was to the first LLM call, the chat OpenAI. What were the tools that it was providing information for? And then, ultimately what was the output. And the first thing that it chose to do was to, indicate it wanted to use this. Yeah. So, and then And then here is if you scroll down to the bottom, this is where you can see the final response from the outline. It's the content that I was showing in my my version of it that I dumped to, copy and pasted in the Markdown file. But here it is in LangGraph if you want to go through and look at it in detail. So the last thing I'm going to do, because it's like you never believe anything unless you see the code run. So this is the location of the script. And here it is, the integration test MCP JSON.py. Bam, let's see it run. Go. I'm crossing my fingers, hoping the demo guides are with me. Here's the MCP tool metadata summary coming from that, that method that was baked into the Python. It's baked into this integration test MCP JSON script, and it's formatting the content that gets back from the get time method of the LangChain wrapper library. And then here is the information on the call. And so this is a fantastic information coming from context 7. And go down to the bottom here, well, you can see the final report that it built out about the migration process. And I just need to go up here. And here we see. This is the last AI message that it got, and then this was the details of the content. So hopefully that made sense to everybody, and it was useful. I'd love to hear your feedback and any thoughts about how to improve the story. You can laugh at me in terms of the story sort of deck that I iteratively kind of refined to get to the point of that I was happy with it, and in the end decided to skip it. Here's the README that goes along with it. Same thing that I showed before, and should be helpful as well. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun doing this. So hopefully this information is useful to you, and feel free to do a pull request. Feel free to star the repo, give feedback. Love to hear from you all. All right, thank you.